Yes, sir. One second. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Spotlight. For the sixth episode of The Spotlight, we have with us the general managers of some of the most remarkable hotels of Mumbai, who are going to talk about unlocking Mumbai's hospitality potential in the new normal. The session will be hosted by our very own general manager, luxury dining, Mr. Aslam. Request and initiation.
Thank you, Akshay, and a very good evening to my esteemed panelists and viewers. Thank you for joining me on the sixth episode of The Spotlight, a fireside chat show with leading professionals from the world of hospitality. The Spotlight is brought to you by Inresto, which is DineOut's leading technology platform for hotels and restaurants. So, what is the context that we are talking? And I want to set that up right away. So, today's discussion topic will center around unlocking Mumbai's hospitality potential in the new normal. And with me, I have three leading general managers from Mumbai, and we are eagerly awaiting to listen to their insights. So, without further ado, please allow me to introduce my esteemed panelists to you. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Atul Bhalla, Area Manager West ITC Hotels and General Manager ITC Maratha, an association with ITC Hotels, which began over 2 decades back. Atul has held senior management positions in major cities and most recently spearheaded the launch of the prestigious ITC Royal Bengal, the chain's grand 14th luxury collection property, and is overseeing the opening of another landmark project, which is the ITC Narmada Ahmedabad. We'll hear more from Atul on this shortly. Next, please join me in welcoming Chris K. Franzen, Area Vice President, West India and General Manager, Grand Hyatt Mumbai Hotel and Residences. Chris's early years were spent in the Swiss Alps, where he was exposed to travel and hospitality from a very young age. His work experience spans across several continents, and he joined Hyatt 21 years back. A fact not known to many, Chris is a trained chef and sommelier and is a passionate motorbiker. More on this also in a short while. And I also want to um, you to join me in welcoming our third panelist, Mr. Nicholas Tumble, General Manager, the St. Regis, Mumbai. In his 20 years at Marriott, Nick has seen the opening of the iconic Renaissance Hotel in Ukraine and ran a 13th century English country golf resort. He started his Marriott India stint in Bengaluru and subsequently headed to Mumbai to Renaissance and now here. Nick has a keen interest in the evolution of the guest experience as well as using psychometric profiling to develop the effectiveness of a team and organization. Nick, we definitely want to know more about this during our conversation. So, right off the bat, I think I must start with you. So, Nick, I wanted to ask you this question. With the easing of the lockdown and the imminent opening of the hospitality sector in some cities, it's not open all through the country yet. And of course, it's also not open fully. Can you tell us some of the behind the scenes preparedness that have been put in place to welcome guests at the St. Regis Mumbai?
Certainly, I think there's a huge amount of stuff that's been going on, and I know in a lot of your previous discussions you've talked about it. So I'm not going to bore everyone with what's going on, but I think let me highlight on what I think is probably the key ones that are important to me and important that we get right. First thing being is that. Fortunately, all our panelists here, we're leading luxury hotels. And I think the reality is within luxury, these commitment to clean or COVID-19 prevention measures that we've put in place are not an amenity. They are a basic expectation for every guest. When you look at the guest expectation model, it's right down there. We have to deliver it. And if we fail to create a safe and secure environment, we are failing our guests. So that's number one that we need to do. And I think we're in a fortunate situation in that luxury is built on the pretext. And we go back to, for example, when the St. Regis first started in 1904 in New York City, it's around a lot of space. Social distancing is not a huge issue when you have space, the size of our rooms, the size of our public areas, etc. But what I think is, and what we've been spending the most attention on here is the training of the team. we are as strong as our weakest link. And unless we ensure that all our team members, whether it's the gentleman making the room, the waitress serving the private dining, the gentleman driving you from the airport to the hotel, unless he has it in here and understands the reason why he's doing or she's doing what they're doing, they will not do it consistently and all the time. I'm really excited in some of the kit. We're just about to receive delivery of what we've rolled out with all of the Marriotts around the world, which is electrostatic sprayers. Now, if those who don't know what electrostatic sprayers are, they basically add a slight electric charge to the chemicals that are being sprayed. And what that does is it enables the chemical to wrap itself around whatever it's being sprayed on, and almost like a magnet. So we'll be launching that in our hotel very, very soon. And I think it's a lot around, you know, making sure that we can make our guests feel comfortable around the different setups we have. We've been doing a lot of experiments with doing the best breakfast. I personally don't feel a buffet is appropriate anymore. So we've had a contingent of guests who've been in here since the beginning. Some long-staying guests who we've used to help us get what the feedback they've given us as to what works best with, you know, using afternoon tea stands with a selection of different breakfast items. And the glory is there are a lot of guests staying for longer periods. So we know what they want. They've been able to share that with that, and we've been able to, you know, ensure that we can deliver on it. And that's, I mean, just some of the things. I'm sure my esteemed colleagues, Atul and Chris, have a huge number of other ideas, and I'm excited to be on this panel with them and to see you again, Aslan. Thank you for having me back.
Thanks, Nick. No, and absolutely. And I think something which is resonating in all our earlier webinars as well is that we don't want hotels to look like hospitals, because at the end of the day, cleanliness is key, comfort is key, hygiene is key, safety is key. But, you know, people also come to hotels to wind down and to celebrate and so on and so forth. So you don't want, you know, to be too intrusive while making everybody comfortable and safe. So that's where it is. Atul, I'll just step up to you. I wanted to, you know, ask you a different question. And of course, you know, if you want to add to what Nick said, you can always do that. But I have another question for you. Is, you know, with the fall in hotel bookings due to lockdown and reduced travel, people are not moving around as much, especially the international travel that goes by. How, in your opinion, is the hospitality industry poised to hold out and regain market share? And I know we're saying 1.5 years, but what's really your point of view? Atul, it's for you.
Oh, this question is for me. I lost you in between.
So can I repeat that?
Yeah, please.
So I was saying that you can add to what Nick said about the safety and hygiene levels, but I have another question for you, which is with the fall in hotel bookings due to the lockdown and reduced travel, especially the international travel is zero. How, in your opinion, is the hospitality industry poised to hold out and regain market share?
Okay, so, you know, just to add to Nick and what Nick told about all
the safety and hygiene things.
Oh, I feel we
lot
lost.
of work has been done, and almost every hotel chain which has worked towards that, and even we've launched from ITC Hotels, launched the Reassure protocol, which is a very extensive protocol, right from coming in from the airport, the safe car promise, where the car is absolutely, we created a separator in the car to give that feeling of safety, and in terms of all the entire information through the QR code, and when you check in, complete experience. And more or less every hotel has done that, and we've also, to get the credibility to that, we've also tied up with the NABH, that's the National Accreditation of Board for Hospitals and Healthcare, and DNV certification, so that again, to install that confidence into our customer, our guests who are coming into our hotels. That's a very, very important thing, that our hotels are absolutely safe for them to come in. And at the same time, we're taking care of our employees So these are certain initiatives which have already been taken. So I will not talk more on that.
Sure.
Now, in terms of you asked me about the industry as such. The irony of this entire thing is that the first airlines and the hotels are the first to go out and the last to come in case of any issue which comes up, whether it's a pandemic or any world event which happens, which has a negative impact. The first to travel gets cut down, and then hotels gets cut down completely. So I think hotel industry as such, and Indian industry as such, is anything like 85 to 95% degrowth over last year. So you can imagine it's come to a grinding halt.
Yes.
A survival phase, I would say, still not revival. It's still not happening because it's only very few cities have opened up completely. But otherwise, even if you look at Mumbai hotels and your topic is Mumbai, we are only open. We just open the rooms. We have some long-staying guests. We have repatriation business. We have few people who just have to travel who is coming in. We've come up with a lot of good protocols in terms of weddings. Even the weddings are only 50 people and not more than 50 people and all that. Though we've come out with a protocol which can take care of certain issues which people are scared of. And so until unless everything opens up, the restaurants open up, yes, the capacity will be cut down, but doesn't matter. Like Nick said, we've been designed, our hotels are designed, the spaces are we have a luxury of space in our hotels. So that should not be a problem. So once the lockdown gets over and the restaurant starts coming back, so some bit of food and beverage will come back. There is a demand, and we all have launched our home delivery vertical. Almost every hotel has done that, and there is phenomenal response on that. So everybody is looking for, everybody is sitting at home, and it's a pent-up demand which will come up. So people will come out, and whatever we lose in terms of spaces will be taken care by the delivery.
Absolutely.
So, and if you see, we were always looking at 10 million people coming into India as a tourist, but there were 26 million who were going out of the country. And international borders are not going to open so soon. Even if it opens, it's not going to be easy to travel. So if that's the case, so where will that demand go? That will come to the Indian hotels. I'll give you an example of what is happening in Delhi, the ITC Grand Bharat. I'm getting calls. I need a room. I don't have a room to give.
Okay.
It's such a heartening feeling that the hotel is full because it's a drivable distance. So anything which is drivable is filling up. I believe even Vilases have started showing good occupancies on the
Western, all the Western and Gurgaon is like the Sona property is busy, very busy because it's on the
North has taken off. We were hoping that Goa takes off. So far, we haven't seen much traction in Goa as such, and plus Goa cases are going up. So at this point of time, I don't think much is going to happen. But it's a pent-up demand, and somebody coined this word "revenge tourism." It's just going to happen. Eventually, we may not get rid of this issue, but we'll learn to
around it. Yeah,
we'll learn to coexist.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel.
No, and it's very important. See, human beings are very social, and you can't really keep them down. Like, I think eventually, slowly people are all like, I know for sure, like, we are a table reservation software as well. And we are seeing day to day, the number of bookings that are coming through are going up in hundreds and hundreds. It's not as good as what it was before, but it's much better than whatever we've seen up till now. So thanks, Atul. I just moved to Chris. Chris, Atul mentioned about airlines and hotels being the last one to hopefully come back. But now, in your view, how will the hospitality, travel and aviation industries evolve post-COVID with movements being restricted and a lot of work is now turning digital and it is work from home? It's the whole situation has changed as far as the work scenario is concerned.
Yeah. I mean, we currently are faced with a situation that none of us would have foreseen just a few weeks ago, right?
Yes.
It obviously also has taught us that we can easily operate from home or to a certain extent via video calling like we do right now. But I still believe, and I'm probably not the only one, that human touch is probably the most important in any dealing you do. So I do not foresee business travel, and especially not leisure travel, to go away anytime soon. I firmly believe it is a mindset. It is at the moment a psychological barrier, because we should not forget that the media thrives on selling news. Bad news sells much better than good news. So we are all in this vicious cycle of seeing all the bad news, and people shouldn't go out, and it's a lockdown here. And look, it's going to take some time to go back to where we were. I firmly believe we will go back where we were. I don't see people stop traveling, not even the business traveler. I feel, to come back to your original question, that airlines will have to start operate before hotels can make or can achieve the occupancies again what we had before, because they're an essential part of the whole chain to fill our beds. The question here remains, what will the government implement? Now, in the case of India or Mumbai, what happens with visas, right? At the moment, you can't even get a visa to visit. So that's step one. Step two would be then, how does the airline pricing look like, and the airlift? Because traditionally, Mumbai was one of the busiest airports in the world, and we all know that's not the case now. Will the recovery be as quick as in certain parts of the world, like our properties in Asia, even China, or in the US, are again doing very thriving business, not on the same levels as before, but I'm telling you, as you mentioned, North India before, Atul, there are some cities and parts of countries who do thriving business. It's probably the same with you, Nicholas. Marriott probably gives you the same statistics. So as fast as this dropped, I have the feeling once that the knot opens, airline travel is back, visas are sorted, I have the feeling this will come back again. Now, to come back to the other revenue streams, what you also mentioned, like this home delivery and takeaway, look, we all try, and I'm sure we all have very good products and service delivery. But by no means will this ever come close to replace, I mean, the business we had in events or MICE. It affects in people being laid off or put on or sent on sabbatical. I mean, it creates a whole chain of events if we don't get that business back, where a lot of families will suffer, right?
Right.
Again, think this will rebound. The question is when.
Okay.
Remains to be seen, because the government has to, first of all, get a grip on what they communicate, and when we open again the borders. That's the most important thing, in my opinion.
Sure. So I think this whole pivoting of the home delivery business has been great, because hotels were never really into the home delivery space before. But like Atul, your gourmet couch and the flavors menu is doing wonders. For even Nick, the Marriott on Wheels has been a tremendous success, and I think it's very cohesively become a new property altogether for the consumer. So, in fact, Nick, I wanted to also come back to you on this question. See, travelers today are more connected than ever before. And as a result, they expect the same level of technology which is there at home. You know, people have all kinds of fancy technology at home. And now we are seeing even hotels adopting a fair amount of technology, which is not necessarily there at home, but you know, people when they come, like how a telephone in the room got obsolete with the mobile phones some many years ago. Today the technology is very different, that's creeping in, and Marriott also has been leading the way, ITC and Hyatt, all of you. But I wanted to ask you, how are you, harnessing the power of technology at check-ins, in guest rooms, restaurants, valet spa, all those things?
So great question. I think a few things I want to sort of talk about. First thing is, 5 years ago, when someone went into their room, the first thing they did was they used the bathroom. In the last few years, the first thing they do is connect to the internet and make sure you've got really strong internet. Now, what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing from our guests is they're going in and they're almost like an executive housekeeper. They're swiping their finger to see how clean it is. So, you know, it's interesting to see how the customer and our guest changes. I think the important thing to look at it though is often when we look at technology, I think you may have used the word efficiency there. Efficiency sort of sounds to me like we're cutting the number of staff we have, etc. And definitely in this time, when you look at the ratio of staff to guests, it's not a time to be cutting that. We need to be able to use technology to go side by side with the personal touch, the personal experience. And I think we've implemented a huge amount of contactless everything, whether it's paying, whether it's your menu in the restaurant, whether it's taking a copy of your passport when guests check in, etc. That's coming in. We have the great Marriott mobile app, and before COVID-19, only 9% of our guests here were using it to check in. I see that going up to well over 50% very soon.
Okay.
We're also working on the technology to be able to use your mobile phone as your mobile key to get into your room. So all those things are coming in, but I believe in the luxury space. The customer strongly believes in choice. They like the opportunity to use the technology when they're in the mood for that, when they want something quickly and efficiently. But on the same extent, they also want that opportunity to go to the front desk, speak to a human, get an idea from things. And I think that's why we have incredibly effective individuals who work in guest relations, concierge, etc., who give that personal touch to the guest. And it's important that we get a very key balance between the two of them. And honestly, at the moment, I'm going a little bit back to the question that you asked Chris before. I think our role right now is to change the sentiment, build confidence in the traveler to be able to come to our hotels. Now, we can use technology to do that, and we are using technology to do that, but we need to get people confident to come. I mean, we were very fortunate that last week the Palladium Mall and the Phoenix Mall next door to our hotel opened up, and there were some really encouraging sales in their first weekend last weekend. So as we see those kind of things, I feel we build confidence that people are willing to come out, willing to come and stay at our hotel, and we as hoteliers, I think that's our number one role right now. How do we get people through the doors? And there's huge opportunity here with domestic tourism, whether it be leisure breaks or people coming back to work. I think if there's one thing I've learned in my 6 years in India is face-to-face relationships are the most important thing. So we need to be seeing, touching, feeling, hearing people directly. While the Zoom, etc., is great, I do think very soon we'll see people wanting to be face-to-face with each other and willing to have the confidence that our hotels have put in everything we can to ensure that we're doing everything we can to minimize any risks to them and their family.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, I will just extend this conversation to Atul. Atul, you lead the food council at ITC Hotels, and I'm sure these last 4-5 months, I mean, you've done a lot in the past few years, but the last 4-5 months must be rapid in terms of rethinking the business strategy around F&B. So what innovations you think can be brought into the hospitality industry business post-COVID? We talked about the home delivery. There are people who are doing chef on call. There are DIY meal kits, cocktail kits, and all sorts of things. So what are some innovations that you are looking in this space?
See, taking in from where Nick spoke about technology is, while we adopt the technology, but you can't do away with our Indian warmth or warmth of a luxury hotel industry, where he said, you need to put a face in front of you to have a conversation, and that's what we are known for. So that is there. So while the restaurant business will come back, but yes, in terms last 4 months have been a great journey. It's been a great learning experience. Initially, started when lockdown started. We were advised and we said, no, we'll not get into the home delivery. It might not be safe because it's the fear of unknown, what is happening. So then eventually we started getting into the home delivery. That developed. Then we started working on our own app. We tied up with the e-commerce partners, which we never done before. So all those things came along for the home delivery part of it. And then look at the variants which are coming out. Now I'll give you examples of what technology is doing and what new concepts which are coming in. The virtual weddings. And it's not that I'm losing out on the revenue, no. So there is only a family member of 15, 20 people in my banquet hall with a large screen. They are having the wedding and that's going on. But at the same time, I am delivering that same gourmet couch boxes all around the country. So probably I would have delivered 350 boxes at the same time around the country at different addresses.
That's
and everybody having a meal together. I've done certain conferences like that. So it's again a economy has to thrive. It has to work. Somewhere or the other, people have to take part. So maybe it's a virtual, but experience is similar for everybody. So there are lots which is happening on this part. Look at the number of apps would have come out in last few months, which you would have seen. Everybody has almost come out with that. We developed our own app in ITC app, ITC Hotels app for the food delivery. So that has been developed in just few weeks time. Earlier we used to take probably 4 to 6 months to develop an app and to come out to the market. Now look at the speed to market, how technology is moving ahead towards that. Forget that. See what's happening into our kitchens. There are hygiene alarms which are coming off. You are without a mask, there is alarm coming on.
Okay.
So it's phenomenal. The kind of though our kitchens were always. I would say that the only place we didn't have to do much was the kitchens in any way, because it was always to that standard, because the kind of practices which was always there, maybe a UV sanitizer, maybe the temperature of a washing machines, or the cleaning protocols and all that. So that was anyway being done, but there is lot more work happening towards that to give that confidence to the consumer. At the same time, the new and different ways which are coming up, like in our restaurants, we know. Can you imagine Bukhara or a Peshawari? We can take only 50%. Is that possible to do that? Where people are waiting at all times. So we've created separators. It's basically very aesthetically done. We created separators in the restaurant. So
the plexiglass ones.
So it's a similar design, so that you get your own private dining room kind of a thing.
Okay.
We've done that. We're waiting for that restaurants to open up now. Delhi, here, these are the most busy restaurants. So they need to come up. So we've done that. We've done that in our coffee shops, and at our all-day dining restaurants, so that we don't lose out on the space. But it's absolutely safe, because there is a that which is very aesthetically done. So there is. I'm sure every hotel chain has done something like that. We've read certain hotels did private dining spaces. So I have so many spaces, like we spoke about, that we have so much of spaces lying all around us. There's so much of spaces in the hotels. Can we use them for private dining? And the consumer is ready to pay you for 10 people dinner. They don't want to sit in a normal restaurant. They want can they dine separately, and the food what they want to have. Probably that will give you a better yields if you do that. So that's also there. I read somewhere some hotel they even allocated their rooms for that. So you can dine in their rooms. So private dining spaces is going to be a very, very big thing. And there are spaces available all over the hotel, whether it's a poolside, whether it's your courtyard, whether your private dining rooms, your lounges, which are not used 24/7. So those are the dining spaces which will come up. So I think there is very different kind of demand is going to come in, which is
rather creatively. I think creatively things are being thought through to make sure that business goes on.
Absolutely. And then this do your own kits. There's a lot of demand for that. A lot of chefs are coming out with beautiful things. There are party packs coming up. There are menus coming up. There is seasonal menus coming up. So there is everything happening, but in a very different format. That's all. But
Yeah.
people are willing to experiment. People are willing to experience all that.
No, and you talked about the room dining. I know in Bangalore for sure, where I am based, the Ritz-Carlton here who converted a full floor, which and it was called
That's what I was mentioning.
yeah, and it was excellent because you could four people could sit down, have a meal. You know, everything is private. They have a private butler. So it's again, it could have been done before, but I think a moment like this has just jump-started ideas like these, which is I think a great thing.
No, even if you see, there are kind of service designs which are coming up, the bat surveys, the enclosures around poolside or on a courtyard. So there are a lot of different designs, which service designs, and people on the shop floor are thinking at this point of time that how do I give that confidence to my consumer that you are absolutely safe, but at the same time I'm making the experience exciting.
Yes.
It's not just doing you a favor by giving you good food, but I'm making your experience exciting. Now that's what our role is. We need to bring in those footfalls into our hotels. We need to bring in people into our restaurants so that we go back to where we were 6 months back. Otherwise, how do we survive?
Absolutely. Thanks. Chris, I actually have a question for you, but I will also ask the same question to the panel later. You know, social media is playing a big role even pre-COVID. You know, it's a new medium where you can use it to your advantage. You can also see what's the guests telling you about yourself. So, you know, how do you think is the best way to align online positioning with your on-property experience, and especially responding to reviews and social media commentary? Really, you know, what are we supposed to reply to everything that you hear and see? Or, I mean, what's your take on this whole space, the social media space?
So in general, not related to Mumbai, I strongly feel that you need to reply to any guest who leaves a comment.
Okay.
Many times we try to engage offline through private messaging if there is some feedback that we probably don't want to address in a public forum. Opinion, there's no way you can ignore the public space at all, whatever the comment is, whatever the channel is.
Yeah.
In terms of, I mean, using social media has been relevant for us even from before COVID, and I'm sure it's the same for my colleagues at Marriott and ITC. What we have seen that there was a massive surge now during COVID in click-through and in looking at content, but that's primarily driven because people were sitting at home and bored at home. So one thing that worked very well for us was this hired at home, which basically means is we don't prepare the food, but we pre-package the raw materials and send them to you. But we had to do a few test runs, to be honest, because it's not as easy as you make it out to be, right? It's a lot of hit and miss as well. So we did identify a few guests who then sent these parcels, and based on their feedback, we re-engineered the whole experience, be it the recipe card, the photography, and the packaging. And our best ambassadors for that program ultimately became not the hotel, became these people who tested it and then told everyone and actually posted photos about it. That worked actually the best and got us a lot of traction and feedback. But that shows you that mouth-to-mouth feedback is still better than when a company posts something, right? It carries much more value if it's coming from a private person than us.
Yes. Yeah.
I think social spaces are here to stay. I think what we've seen in the last 4 months, there was a lot of invention going on. It's very encouraging to see how the teams have been challenged in ways we would not even think before, right? Suddenly we find spaces that we knew we were, but we never really looked at them as a revenue space because we didn't have to, right? We all have served VIP dinners in suites and rooms, but now this is a whole new aspect. It's a whole new selling of the rooms product. We go to the extent that we sell you a room and give you the adjacent room as your office. We take all the furniture out and give you an office setup, right? That's not related to dining, but we would have never done that before, right? So same, we pretty much do similar things what Atul mentioned and Nicholas in terms of dining. Now, one thing we do, again, to come back to an earlier question, if you don't mind, about buffets, just very quickly about buffets.
Yeah.
I run out of things to say about social media and apps, so I have to backtrack. We actually, all of us have taken probably a very similar approach, get rid of the buffets, but the Indian consumer still likes to see a lot of all that stuff, right? So we have now three teams working around the globe, one in Asia, one in, well, Southeast Asia, one in Southwest Asia, and one in Europe, trying to figure out a new type of buffet as well. And on purpose, the ideas were not shared until today, so as not to cross-pollinate ideas. We actually prefer to work in a silo to see what comes out between the three teams. And because I'm above property, I've seen some great ideas come out of the Middle East as well, which I would have not thought, which our teams here in India did not think before, right? So again, it's all about innovation. It's all about asking, as Nicholas said, the customer who's in-house, what do you think about that? How will you react to it? How can we serve you better? Because the problem in India really is, not like in Europe or in the US where you have one relatively standard breakfast buffet, for example. India is different. You need European choice. You need a South Indian choice. You need Indian choice. This is India's, is in terms of a culinary engagement, for lack of a better word, probably one of the most difficult countries to be in. It's a great challenge. And only now you realize, you know, what an impact the buffet had and what the skill and knowledge was of a breakfast chef, right? Because breakfast chefs are usually the forgotten heroes, as I call them. They are the ones at 5 a.m. in the kitchen slogging away, but the guys doing the fine dining in the evening usually get all the glory and all the praise. And this is no longer the case, I can tell you. This has to be rethought as well. Yeah, so sorry, I answered part of your question and then...
No, sure. No, I appreciate that. So I think like I said, I'm going to ask that social media question to everyone. So Atul and Nick, one of you can start off and then the other one can also give your inputs on this if you have anything to say.
I think for me, just very quickly, I think just like a department store like Harrods or Selfridges in London has a shop window, social media is very much like that for us. And I think the trick here is that it's evolving so quickly. You know, what my 16-year-old and 13-year-old, what apps they're using now, what programs they're using is significantly different from what I'm used to and what I guess I'm learning. So I think we need to keep very much on top of it. And I do see us putting more and more resources towards it because it's important. And it's only going to, and I think over this period, it's been wonderful to see the chefs getting very engaged on and with their creativity, you know, cooking classes, tips, etc. And I think it's been a great way for us to connect with so many of our guests that maybe we haven't been able to see in person over the last few months.
Yes, I agree with you. It's been a great medium to communicate because even newspapers were a thing of the past for many people, so you wouldn't get that. Atul, you have any inputs on this?
Yeah, the social media, you know, in my opinion, last 4 or 5 months is actually evolved.
Yes.
It's really, or people using it have really evolved because this is the only medium where you could be in touch with everybody and also tell everybody that what you've been doing. And the number of home chefs which have come up and people are putting videos, and not only home chefs, but even professional chefs doing their cooking at home and coming up with those videos. Yeah. The people are mixing drinks, it's so, and are well-being videos, which are the kind of well-being videos which are coming up. So I feel that the content on the social media has really evolved in last 3 or 4 months because the kind of seriousness which has gone into that. And I see it as a hoteliers, social media is a very, very important medium for us for advocacy marketing. and that's the best thing you can use the social media for.
Agree. Yeah.
So, and it is a double-edged sword, no doubt about it, because
Yes.
if anything goes wrong, it can pull you down from maybe 100 floor to down to first floor. So that's possible. But again, you got to be very careful in handling of social media in terms of your responses, and very, very responsible responses. That's what is very important. And don't take even a single social media comment lightly. Need to respond to it, need to resolve it, need to close. That's the most important part in the social media. So otherwise, it's a great friend if it's like fire. You use fire nicely, absolutely fine. It gives you so much of benefits. But if you mishandle, then obviously you know what's going to happen.
No doubt. And unfortunately, there are people who
Sorry, Atul, you dropped out.
No, I think
you're there. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Chris, sorry, you were saying something.
No, I said, unfortunately, like in anything in life, there are people who take advantage of it. It is unfortunately a fact in our business.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we've all experienced it.
That's true. Atul, I'll just come back to you. This year, there are students that have been passing out of hospitality colleges, and they're already there in these colleges. They're looking at the hotel industry as a career, but things have not been the best, of course, this year for any industry. But since we are talking about hospitality, I thought I'll ask you this question: what is the career outlook for aspirants in the hotel, travel, and tourism management sectors, given what's going around? Like, what should a message from you be for that?
So I've had a couple of webinars with the hospitality students, and I was asked this question very extensively in that. I only told them at this point of, my message to them would be only that it's only a temporary phase, so don't lose heart. At this point of time, even our regular staff is only 20% or 25% is in the hotels. Rest everybody at home.
Yeah.
So getting new people is at this point of time is going to be difficult. But it's only a temporary phase. When it comes back, it's going to come back with the vengeance. So the demand will go up, the job market will become hot. It's going to take a little time, but it's going to happen. Till then, they need to spend time on sharpening the axe. That's it. That's all they can do. They can get skills. They can study. There are a lot of courses available. They can do a lot of project work. And there are companies, there are people who are giving, doing a lot of projects, a lot of research work. Get into that. So I'm sure that's going to happen. Even certain colleges have come up with some phenomenal packages for these students, giving them research works. A lot of colleges have come up with. I've seen in Calcutta that IIHM, he started something called Sahas. That's he's put in a fund of 5 crores to do startups. He's ready to fund them. So because it's a batch of 2020 passing out, and there are hardly any jobs available. So there are certain colleges like in Jindal, I've seen people are doing research work. There are a lot of other colleges are working on the research, different kind of research and all. And then education is the only way you can increase your knowledge, and then wait for industry to restart. It will open up. There's nothing to worry about. It's a temporary phase. And everybody will understand the absence of any work during this pandemic period.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's just to go along with Atul. I think it's an amazing time to learn something new. Now,
absolutely
scared if you're a hospitality student to go and work another sector. Doing something like sales for a little bit will be a great skill. Even community service. Someone, I was to see a CV and someone said I took 6 months off to do community service, and I worked how to get funding and feeding thousands of people. Wow, that is someone I would pick up in a heartbeat. So there's lots of opportunities. The worst thing I think anyone can do is sit at home and feel sorry for themselves. So
yeah, I think that's an excellent thought there.
Come up with even for our staff, it's the word called upskilling. So
yes.
There is an account of how many people have done how many courses. company has invested in this online education. There are a lot of platforms available, and the number of courses which have been done, even if we wanted to do it over the period of time, we would have taken a couple of years to do them, what we've done in this last 3 or 4 months for our staff members. So that's again, it's an opportunity to at least sharpen the skills.
Chris, you have anything to add? Because I have a question for you on the F&B side later.
Very briefly, I had a similar fireside chat with my alumni at the hotel school about 2 weeks ago, and exactly the same story. Listen, use the time, educate yourself further, expand your field of vision, and do voluntary work. Even if you go and do voluntary work at a hotel, that may help. Now, that hotel school is in Australia. Obviously, the restrictions, there is no lockdown like you have here. So I told them, go and do something else and, work for free if you have to, if you learn something. Not for the sake of working for free, just to upskill yourself as well. So exactly the same. Yeah.
Okay. No, so I, since you have a background in the kitchen as a chef in your early years, today the availability of produce is going to be a challenge with international borders closed. So sustainable food, with something Atul can speak a lot also on later. But I thought I'll ask you first. All this thing about farm to fork and sustainable cuisines and things. What's your outlook? I mean, in that, given what's going on just now.
And I'm pretty sure it's the same for my colleagues. We changed some time ago. We don't believe in flying food around the world, The footprint is just, the carbon footprint is just too big. So wherever possible, we actually went local a long time ago. Now, you have a few specialities. Let me give you an example, Peking duck, right? There's a certain type of duck we have because it's a speciality. So that's the exception. Now, obviously, at the moment, we would struggle obtaining that speciality. Parma ham or proper Parmigiano cheese would be a problem, but we have plenty of stock on hand, so that's okay. Everything else, be it milk products, even ice creams, meats, even cheeses. There's some great cheese boutique cheese manufacturers. It's all available in India. You just have to look. And with the opening of our Andaz in Delhi, especially, the concept is farm to table, fresh from the neighborhood. So all other hotels have a similar approach. So you'd be surprised that a lot of things we get are actually all produced in India. Now, I even go to the extent now, which I started before COVID, that I don't believe in flying in Pellegrino just because we have an Italian restaurant. There's great sparkling mineral water available in India. If you do a blind tasting, doesn't taste worse or better. So I don't believe in flying in a bottle around the world just because you have an Italian restaurant, right? I don't think, by and large, that has affected our hotel or the rest of our hotels. It's probably the same for Nicholas and Atul as well. Yeah, I'm not sure, gentlemen.
Yeah. So, Nick, before I get to Atul, you have any thoughts on this whole sustainable food and produce?
I agree with what Chris says. I think it's all about us partnering with farmers. I think there's an incredible skill level. And another thing I've learned in India is if there's a will, if there's support, it can be done. And there's no reason why it shouldn't. Yes, and as Chris said, it's ridiculous flying stuff around halfway around the world to bring them here, apart from the speciality items that cannot be done.
Yeah.
Atul, I know in ITC there's huge amount of research that goes into this space, right?
Absolutely. So this is what we've been. We even used a word called locavore.
Yes.
So it's anything within 100 kilometers. So that's what our always objective is, that use the local ingredients, what is produced locally, and use the seasonal ingredients. And if you see, I'll give you an example of, we opened a restaurant, we started that with ITC Grand Chola in Chennai, that is Royal Vega. And then opened the second one, we opened that in ITC Royal Bengal. So what is that restaurant is all about? It's all about the local ingredients and the seasonality of the ingredients. Right. And the menus change with every season, because as this is based on the Ayurvedic concepts and an old Indian concept where it's the ingredients what you eat during the season time, that's what is best for your health. That's what is best for your well-being, and that's what you can digest well. So there is a complete science behind this entire thing, and that's how that entire restaurant has got only those 4 menus. That's about it.
Yes.
And it's an essential menus, and it's all ingredients which are locally available and seasonality of the ingredients. And that's what our chefs try and do at all times, that use ingredients which are within 100-kilometer radius, so that the carbon footprints, the lesser the carbon footprints, the better it is. And like Chris said, certain ingredients which has to be flown in, which are specialty ingredients. Of course, you have to do that for the authenticity of that particular cuisine which you are offering. So that's your offering. That's absolutely fine. But by and large, I think the entire industry at this point of time is working very hard. All the chef community from across chains, from across restaurants and hotels, everybody's working towards that local, giving importance to the local produce. And that also goes very well for the farmers, very well goes for the economy of that particular geography. It's good to do that, and not waste money on don't increase your food costs unnecessarily by flying down those kind of ingredients. So that's the way forward. I think around the world this thing is on, and it's not today, yesterday. It's been on for some time now. But it's sustainability will going forward. This is bound to happen.
It's more prominent. It's going to be.
Yeah, and Chris said the good quality cheese is available. The good quality produce is available in India now. Everywhere it is happening. I guess what you need to import, you need to. But that's about it. Not unnecessary.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm just changing gears now, and Atul, I'll stay with you to ask you about your last driving expedition, and I'm coming to a lighter part of our session. So you love off-roading and golf I think is not happening, I'm sure. So when was the last time you got behind the wheel to go someplace? You were telling us something earlier.
So I'll talk about golf first. The last golf I played was 9th of February.
Okay.
So I remember the date also.
Wow.
I missed it so much. It's okay. And even the driving, I've not. It's some time since, because last entire year went in opening of ITC Royal Bengal. So I actually had no time to do anything like that, because entire year we opened in the month of June. So the pre-opening work 2-3 months before that, and the entire year, and it started off so well. There was no time for that. But yes, now I'm looking forward. Now another one drive which is coming up is I have to drive from Calcutta to Mumbai, because I have to get my pet, and that's the only way I can do that. So that's a blessing in disguise, because I love driving. So I'm going to get her along with me. Drive this. It's around 2,200 kilometers. So wow. 3 days. So I'm going to do that. But before that, I've done drives to Bhutan. I've done drive to, I drove from Calcutta to Jaisalmer and then backtrack. So that was again a 10-12 days trip, and a lot of dune bashing and camping, and it's good. Driving in wilderness in middle of pristine nature that's what I love. So
it's a great therapy, I'm sure, for you.
Yeah, so probably, yeah. So now is a great time to drive around Western Ghats.
Because of the weather, the way it is.
Because of the weather, the kind of waterfalls and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful to drive around at this point of time. Yeah.
Nick, how have you spent the last few months? Like, I know you told me you were holed up in the hotel, which is wonderful. You have a very spacious hotel to spin around wherever you wish to. But still, how has it been?
Yeah. I think a few things. One is the greatest gift that this has given us is time. I used to struggle to have dinner with my family once or twice a week. I have dinner with the family every night now, which is amazing, which is brilliant. And it's almost felt like a bit of a cocoon, the hotel, I suppose. And because there's so much space, we can walk around. One thing that I've been doing right now there's 5 of us regular guests doing, 4 regular guests and myself and my wife are doing the Oxfam 100-kilometer walk, which is a virtual walk that they're doing to raise money for charity. And you have to do it over 10 days. So I've been participating in that. I pushed myself a little bit more, and I'm making sure I do 200 kilometers, and I've got 12K left to do between today and tomorrow. So, that opportunity to be able to walk or run or whatever it is, 20 kilometers in a day has been brilliant. And we've been fortunate here at the hotel that we have quite a lot of outdoor space. We have a lovely terrace on the 9th floor where we've been exercising. And I found out that our driveway is about half a kilometer long. So that's my loop. And we actually had one of our guests, one of the South Korean gentlemen called G, who a week last Saturday did 50 kilometers in a day just on our driveway.
Wow.
Running, walking. And, so I think it's been about time with the family and looking after your health. And the opportunity to learn. I think that's been magical as well. And I only started at the St. Regis on beginning of February. So it's been wonderful to be able to get to know the team better, because you've been close. And at the beginning of the lockdown, we had a lot of our sort of northeastern team here who were all Christians. So I was asked to serve as somewhat of a vicar at an Easter service, which was also interesting. So it's been lovely seeing the different cultures, the different religions, everyone coming together and having the time to recognize these kind of things.
Excellent. Chris, what about you?
My children asked my wife, who is this man eating dinner with us every night? By now they got used to it, that I'm there as well every night. And one round with us is 750 meters around the hotel.
Wow.
But I walked so much that I have a hairline fracture and my foot is in the cast right now. So I have to stop walking. But put that aside, obviously spend a lot of time with the family, kids, and do a lot of preparation work for the relaunch. I wish I could be on the motorbike somewhere. I planned to be this time of the year somewhere in the north, Spiti Valley or Ladakh Leh or something. Obviously that all got washed out. And the motorbike is right down here in the driveway, waiting for me to
jump on it.
So I started once a week, let it run for 10 minutes. And that's it for the time being. Absolutely. But I miss it.
And I'm sure we'll all be back on the road soon. So thanks for that personal insight. And, I had some questions from earlier because this session was announced before. So I'm going to pose some of the questions that had come earlier on the session. And pardon me, I'm going to see my phone for this. So one of the first questions that I can read here is, do you imagine your customer profile changing at all, or are you placing a greater focus on your existing customer base? And this is for any one of you could go ahead. I have 2-3 questions that I need to ask.
I don't think the profile will change. I mean, a luxury guest going to the ITC or the St. Regis or the Grand Hyatt,
Okay.
Be a guest who enjoys the finer things in life. It's not going to be someone who would stay at a select service hotel. My opinion.
Maybe in the short term you'll see some changes, but I think in the medium to long term, absolutely the same guess as Chris was saying.
Yeah, like Atul was mentioning about the fact that there are no international flights, so there will be a lot more domestic tourism that will happen for the immediate future, I think.
Yeah.
So you might expand your customer base. That will happen. Plus, obviously, the behavior will be a little different. It will be a little more demanding at this point, and because because of the awareness of this entire pandemic and the promise we are making. So obviously we got to deliver that. So that's for it. But I think profile will more or less remain the same.
Atul, this question is sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I think one thing that has been wonderful is the number of guests who have taken the time to thank the hotel for the measures that are being taken to make it a safer place. And often we may be upset with what guests say about our hotels, etc. It's been credible that nearly every guest has made the time to comment on how it's brilliant that they're seeing the change, and that's throughout the industry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Atul, this question is specifically for you. There's a question on the ITC Narmada Ahmedabad. Like, that's I think the newest property other than Colombo, which will be coming up shortly. So what is there something special that we want to share about that particular place? They wanted to know.
So only thing I can share at this point in time, that property will debut in the first half of the next year.
Okay.
And it has our signature restaurants. That's come. It's around 300 room hotel. Okay. And it is located at Vastrapur, which is the business hub of Ahmedabad. So it's very, very beautiful property, which is coming up, and we should debut first half. That's what the plan is. So the work was delayed for some time, but now the work is in full swing. So it is going to be very interesting property.
Yeah, I think, and you personally have been associated with the Chola launch and the Royal Bengal launch, and now this one. So
that's right.
A bit of a hat trick for you. Chris, I think maybe I could ask you this question. Will the club lounges be history? Somebody is asking here, be history for some time? Considering many of these get crowded, especially at iconic hotels like all three of yours.
No, I think the club lounge is still a refuge for someone who wants a bit more privacy. And matter of fact, I think it's the opposite, because they offer a space away from the public at large where everyone gathers in the lobby. So I think it's going to be quite the opposite. Obviously, we have to make sure that social distancing measures, or measures like Atul mentioned, that you keep guests apart through screens, are implemented and in place as well. I actually foresee sale of suites will go up, because people would probably want to have a sleeping area and a meeting area without you would lobby and meet people. For the same way that the airline industry predicts an increase in private jet flights, for the exactly same reason. It is obviously a different segment of guests who can fly private jets and rent suites, but these guests are out there, definitely.
I think along those lines, something that we're finding is working really well. We obviously have the St. Regis butlers here, and we're finding the guests are really loving it at the moment, because it reduces the number of people they interact with. They're really, everything is being interpreted through one person, and especially throughout the hotel, whether it's a regular room or the suites, there's a lot of usage of our butlers at the moment.
Okay. And Nick, this is a question for you, which is something I mentioned in the beginning in your introduction about the psychometry profiling, because I know that you quite are focused on that. Can you tell us a little about that? This actually is also a question that was asked by somebody else earlier.
So the whole premise behind it, I know a lot of you know it, but just to simplify it, is each of us as individuals have different desires or needs. Some things we're good at and some things we're not. So, for example, there may be someone has a very high drive for power or ego, whereas others it's not such a big deal. So what we sort of, the way I look at it is the different, especially within teams. You need a lot of different individuals with different desires to make yourself a successful team, because you need to cover all your bases as such. And what I have been using it somewhat to do is to look at how guests, the different types of guests are taking the current scenario, and how they're appreciating it. You can see guests who have a strong need a strong controlling need, wanting to have a huge amount of detail about what are we doing to protect them against COVID-19. Whereas there's other guests where that need for detail and control is not so strong. But I think it where I use it most effectively, and I'm sure Atul and Chris as well, is really in making sure you have a very balanced team. And disagreements between team members, between departments, etc., nearly always are because individuals don't understand what each other's desires are, or which each other's drivers are, and it's important that they do. And we've had to rely during the lockdown period and through the different uncertainty and flexibility. You're really relying a lot on people who are very flexible, who are very open to change, who can manage change well. Whereas those who are very rigid and inflexible have struggled with some of the new norms, the new ways, the new changes. And it's been good to see people collaborating together, because those who tend to be very flexible in their ways normally aren't so good at process. But they need the process guys to help them make sure that the new system is implemented. So I think it's helped a lot, and I've used it during this time to put teams together which address that and are very rounded when multiple people are together.
Cool. That makes great sense. So we are almost up to closing, but I have just one question which I know was partly addressed, but I will throw this open to Atul. Atul, there's a question here. What is the future of large format events such as conferences and weddings, and also bars particularly, because that's something we didn't touch, and watering holes, because typically these are not places where you can divide the table, people are standing up and they are chatting and stuff like that. So how has it been for you?
On a lighter note, the big fat Indian wedding is on a diet at the moment. Okay, so but yeah, it's going to take a little time, but it's I was reading a data somewhere where 90% of the people have not postponed their weddings. Weddings have happened.
Oh,
so it's smaller weddings. So the people have not postponing the weddings. Some people have postponed the weddings to later part of the year, but they will get married. Eventually, that will happen. But there are a lot of weddings which are taking place now people's homes. They don't even want to come out. But this phenomenon is again a very temporary phenomenon. It's going to all come back with a vengeance next year. People are going to throw big parties. That's what I hope, because everybody will, please understand the Indian weddings, especially Indian weddings, where it is more of a networking events, where they bring in everybody from all walks of life, your business associates, your office associates, your social part of it, and also all that is going to happen. So if not today, maybe after the vaccine comes in, maybe another 8 months, 8 months or 1 year, it will happen eventually. So the banquet is going to come back with a bang. Where I see a little bit of a time which is going to take is the corporate events, because corporate has learned a very different thing now in terms of doing meetings and got very comfortable with it. So, but still, again, the human touch cannot go back. All the big, large conferences which we built such large properties for. So once things come back to normal, it will come back. But yes, it's in near future. I don't think even we're going to get any permissions for that, especially in India, where there is a chances of a second wave coming in, a third wave coming in certain areas. So this season doesn't look like that we'll be able to. There's any chances of any revival. That's what I feel at the moment. But yes, individual tourism and all that will happen. But large events, as part of a government regulations, I don't see. Maybe 50 will become 100 or maybe 150, and that's what looks like.
Okay. So I guess with that we draw our session to a close, because we've almost come up to an hour of our conversation. So I wanted to thank Atul, Nick, and Chris. Thank you for joining us and for your valuable insights. And well, I'm hoping we'll meet in person sometime soon. This was a great session, but I hope that we can meet sometime soon in Bombay or in Bangalore or wherever else. So I will have Akshay, my colleague, close this session, and then we will of course put it up. You will see this live on the Facebook. So Akshay, are you want to come on now?
Thank you so much, Mr. Gafoor. Yes, that was truly an insightful discussion today. I would like to wholeheartedly thank Mr. Bhalla, Mr. Franzen, Mr. Dumble, and Mr. Gafoor for joining us in our fortnightly hospitality live chat show, The Spotlight. We will be back again soon with an all new episode and an all new panel of remarkable personalities who are driving the hospitality industry around the nation. Till then, don't forget to subscribe to our updates via social media. You can follow Inresto by DineOut on all leading social media channels and stay tuned for more details. Stay safe and have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.